Hello, good people, and welcome back to another math video, this time on combining like terms. A little bit of vocabulary for us to start. In terms of our work here, a term, that is going to be either the number or a variable or the product of a number and variable in an expression. So a number would be like 4, a variable that could be like x, and their product would be if they're right next to each other, which means they're being multiplied, like 4x. Another term here, coefficient. Coefficient, that's the number that's going to be in front of the variable. Like if we have the term 3x, then the 3 is the coefficient. And lastly, constant, that's just a plain number, like the number 5. All right, so let's take a look at an expression, and we'll identify terms, coefficients, and the constant, and then we will combine like terms in order to simplify that expression. All right, so here it is. So when we are figuring out terms, we're going to remember that we have to keep the sign that is with that term. So in this problem, our terms would be negative 4x, 7, 5x, negative 12, and y. Those would be our terms. If we were going to ask kind of what are the coefficients, our coefficients would be a negative 4, because that is in front of the x, a 5, and this one's a little tricky, but there is a 1. Now where would that be? Well, the 1 really would be kind of in front of this y. Like how many y's do we have? We have 1. We could write 1y, just most of the time we don't. We just write plain old y. And lastly, our constants. Now remember, those are plain old numbers. So in this expression, our constants would be 7 and negative 12. Now, when we talk about simplifying this expression by combining like terms, we are going to first figure out what's alike. Now, in class, we talked about using kind of the same shape around things that were alike. So, how about my x's first? And I'll circle those. Well, I have a negative 4x, a positive 5x, and that's it. So if I had negative 4 and positive 5 and I combined those, then I would have a 1x. Let's see. I have my constants here. I'll put a box around positive 7 and a box around negative 12. Positive 7 and negative 12 are constants, and I used a square instead of a circle to show that those are different from the x terms. So if I combine positive 7 and negative 12, I would get negative 5. And lastly, I have a positive y. I could do maybe a triangle around my positive y. So there's no other y terms, so I'll just write that down here. And that is my final answer. Alright, here's another expression, and we'll go through the same process. First we'll identify the terms. So we have n, 4n, negative 7n, and a negative 1. Now in terms of coefficients, let's see, we have a 1 that would be in front of that first n, the 4 in front of the next one, a negative 7 in front of the third n term, and for constants, looks like we have just 1, and that is the number negative 1 as our constant. Alright, now if we're going to combine like terms, we have a lot of n's, so maybe I'll start with those, and I'll use some circles. Notice I'm including the sign in each of these. So let me combine those. N plus 4n, these are both positive, would give me 5n. And then I'd have 5n, and I'm subtracting 7n, which leaves me with negative 2n. And then here's my constant, that's different, minus 1. So there we are, simplified, negative 2n minus 1. Alright, I think that's it. You can watch that a couple times. Check out the difference between terms, coefficients, and constants. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.